All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Serious Angler Podcast, where, as always, our main course for you guys is learning and teaching as much as we can about bass fishing. And on today's segment, we are back with a seriously Western show for you guys, an awesome one at that. And as always, this segment here, Seriously Western, is powered by the great folks at Amped Outdoors. If you guys have an RV, have a bass boat, have a kayak, whatever that may be, check out Amped Outdoors lithium batteries. They are great people, but also make a kick ass product. So make sure you guys give them a call. Tell them the Serious Angler folks sent you. They're supporting the West Coast here with the Seriously Western segment we're doing at Serious Angler. Unfortunately, it is no Deacon with me today. Deacon is currently traveling for work this week, so you guys are stuck with this Northeastern boy interviewing some folks from the West Coast. As always, my name is Bailey Egbert, and today we have an awesome one for you guys. We have Mr. Billy Egan from One Bass coming on, the tournament director, the leader over there, steering the ship. We're having him on to talk about Clear Lake from his perspective, as well as second place angler Nathan Phillips. Unfortunately, we could not get Mr. Pearl on, who won with 102 pounds over 3 days of competition on Clear Lake. We will be having Mr. John Pearl on the show here soon. Don't worry, we'll have that coming up on whether it's a Serious Angler or Seriously Western. Either way, we were going to try to get a show lined up, Mr. John Pearl. But talked with Nathan for a while on this show as well, and we kind of dive into is Clear Lake now again the best lake in the country when it comes to bass fishing. I think it has a strong argument with having two bags on that one bass event at Clear Lake. Two bags, 3-day event, two bags over 100 freaking pounds. With a 38-pound bag mixed in there, some absolute giants getting caught. I think the biggest fish was over 12 pounds. I think there was another 11 caught, if I'm not mistaken. Absolute just bags getting brought to the scales. They said over 20 something 30-pound bags, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Either way, we'll get into that with Billy. Billy lays out all the details, but an incredible, incredible event. We're here to feature and talk about Clear Lake, but also talk about some West Coast bassing. We have some more stories that we do behind the scenes with Billy. And regardless, we'll start off with Billy here and then lead into later in the show with Nathan. And then we'll wrap things up, of course. But hopefully, you guys are enjoying the little West Coast love that we're trying to do here at Serious Angler, with every other Monday being a Seriously Western. And we should be back to regularly scheduled programming come next week with Andy and Deacon being back, so you guys aren't just stuck with me. And one thing I want to highlight too is, it's come to my attention that there's some folks reaching out, from the regions that want their region or state or whatever talked about more on this show. Where maybe we're talking a lot about Texas, we're talking about the Southeast, we're talking about out west. And obviously, this show will always be about West and Seriously Western. But if you're listening to this right now and you're like, I want you to talk more about, North Carolina, reach out to us. DMs are always open. Our email is down in every show description. You guys can always send us an email. You can DM me personally on social media. We'll love any suggestions that you guys want to hear about, because we make this show obviously because we enjoy it. We love learning about bass fishing. We love the guests that we get on, but we also enjoy doing this show to help teach you guys more about the things that you want to learn about. And obviously, we're all here for bass fishing. So all feedback is appreciated. All feedback is heard. So please reach out if you guys have anything. And with that, the last thing what we'll do that will cap this little introduction and get to Mr. Billy Egan is, on Wednesday's show, we have the Champions Roast, the Bassmaster Classic Champions Roast. Mr. Easton Fothergill coming Wednesday for the Serious Angler OG show. So you guys have that to look forward to. But without further ado, let's get into our guest, Mr. Billy Egan. All right, Mr. Billy Egan, welcome to the Seriously Western segment here, Serious Angler. And man, this is coming off of, this event, I think it sparked some national media. And obviously, the point of Seriously Western is to bring some more love to the West Coast. But I think your event here at Clear Lake, dude, I think everybody across the nation heard about it from the weights that were thrown up there. But how was it from your point of view?
As an event standpoint, as a tournament director, it was one of those bottom of the ninth walk off home run type events. It just set up perfectly. We had a lot of interest in fishing it, over 176 boats or 176 boats. We had another 17 AAAs who wanted in the tournament. So if we had gotten more pros, we would have been able to fill those spots there. And a lot of people, obviously, with the turnaround and some of the fish that I actually was able to catch in February, and other people were catching in February, that were really kind of indications on what Clear Lake was looking like and building up. April is a phenomenal time of year to do a tournament there, and we've been lucky to kind of secure that time frame, and for other organizations to understand, hey, they're drawing the largest numbers. We're going to kind of work with that, if you will,
Yeah.
because they know a lot of guys are going to attend that, the organizations are working together as much as we can to make sure there's not a lot of overlap, because we only have so many guys we're uh, vying after to fish our events. But getting up there, the bite, there's a lot of anticipation because a lot of guys, well, certain number of guys were really sticking it to those fish and having 30 plus pound days over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, you get up there and you have this anticipation of I'm going to go catch 30 plus pounds myself. It's going to be off the hook. It's going to be silly. And it truly was not the case. I mean, the fishing was tough on a general standpoint.
Yeah.
For the majority of the anglers, the fishing was tough. I was there for 4 days prior to the tournament, and I had one fish a day. Granted, one of the fish on one of the days was almost a 9 pounder, which was great to catch, but they weren't biting traditional Clear Lake style baits.
Mm.
Jerk baits, crank baits, chatter baits, buzz baits, frog. None of that had turned on yet. The water temperature was still in the 56 to 61 degree temperature range.
Mm.
They really hadn't had any hot weather yet to really push those big fish up. Although the moon phase was setting up perfect for the tournament. And, if you knew where the good fish were and you knew how to entice them to bite whatever it was you were throwing at them, you were going to come in with a good bag. And, to have Micah Jones come in on day one, set the precedence with 38 pounds early in the first flight, it was like, holy moly. I remember when I saw Tracy lift that bag, and I was just like, oh my God, this is how it's going to be. Because I've been saying for months, even at the classic, and I think we ran into each
Yeah.
other, and I told
Yeah.
you, I believe it's going to take 25 pounds a day to get a check. And everybody's like, there's no way. That's no way. Well, 34th place, which was the last check, had 73 pounds.
Oh, God.
Okay.
And for
So I
folks
wasn't
that
far,
may
I
not
wasn't
know,
far off.
yeah, 3 day event. Yeah, 3 days.
3 day event. So as far as an event's concerned, and the anglers doing really well, and Ranger and Mercury being our tire sponsors and giving away a boat, we that event has shocked the nation, if you will, because as far as I know, the largest 3 day bag ever was a 110-pound bag by, I think, Keith Combs at a Toyota Texas Bass Trail event, which is an individual event. And for John Pearl and for Nathan Phillips to get 102 and 101 respectively in a 3 day event with, I think the number is over 23 bags over 30 pounds in 3 days, is pretty significant.
Yeah.
It's a record for the West. I think it's a record for sure for pro-am style events, whether it's California or across the nation, if you will. And it really highlighted the fishery that Clear Lake is. It had a down cycle about 7 years ago. There was a major die off, maybe even longer ago. And it's really come back with a lot of strength. I have personally, I don't get back east a lot, so I don't know Texas. I don't know Alabama and a lot of these other lakes that the other organizations fish, but there's more bait in that lake than I've seen anywhere else.
Hmm.
Shad balls the size of saltwater charter boats, um, hitch, bluegill, crappie, silver sides. It's chock full. It's like, well, why would they bite a lure? There's so much bait in that lake. But they did, and
Yeah.
John and Nathan and Micah Jones and Paul Bailey. I mean, Paul Bailey, he had a rough day too. Local guide there, really good stick. One of these days, he will win this tournament. Um, he had 39 pounds, barely shy of 40 pounds day three, after being beat up for 2 days already, plus beat up during practice. So it really
Yeah.
shows what that lake's capable of. I mean, Gary Collins caught that 15 pounder a couple weeks prior to the tournament. And he said when he caught that fish, there were five others the same size with it.
Oh my
So
God.
as long as that lake stays healthy, the water doesn't get too hot this summer, that place is going nowhere but up. And I mean, it's possible we could see 40-pound bags next year.
Yeah. And that
I
was
mean, mind
the
blowing, mind blowing.
Yeah. That was kind of the general synopsis to everybody that was tuning in. You know, we reshared the weights from each day on stories and stuff, and the amount of feedback we got were like, man, Clear Lake's back. Like people saying, like, oh, we gotta get over there. And uh I think it's safe to say Clear Lake's gonna see some tourism here coming up
Believe
in the
it,
next.
because I was the tournament ended Friday. We had our VRBO Monday. Went out Saturday with my two staff guys, and we literally caught I think three fish right around 5 pounds. We couldn't get the big ones to bite. It was super frustrating. We went back out Sunday until about 2 o'clock. I broke a rod. I bird nested two of my reels. It was one of those days where you're just like, okay, maybe it's just not meant to be for me. Maybe I should just pack up and go home to a lake I'm familiar with or more familiar with. And then at 2:30, I put a different head on, and it went from zero to hero in 2 hours with 36 plus pounds and a 10-pound kicker on my
Sheesh.
on my final there. Me, a tournament director, not a tournament guy. So it just proves that that lake is phenomenal because to be beat up that long by that many guys and still have the potential to catch 30 plus pound bag for an enthusiast, a guy who just likes to fish. I did get a bite on a big swim bait, caught one on a swim bait, but the rest of them were all on the minnow.
Hmm.
Trying to hone my skills with that forward facing thing myself.
Trying to bring both worlds into one, yeah. And
Yeah,
that what's gonna be cool about this episode is hopefully we can, with bringing Nathan and Pearl together, is we'll see kind of a little bit of a diversity at least in how they're. I forced myself to not listen to the shows that they've been on already, so that I can come into the show this one fresh and with my questions. But um, like I know, because I know Pearl was on BTL. I'm looking forward to listening to that one. But just some of the different style techniques that are used avidly over that way. There's some crossover I feel like to the East Coast, but for the most part, like even my short time traveling with Deacon over at down in Pedro, I just seeing some of the different stuff guys were using out that way that you don't see much out east. It's cool to kind of see the blend and see some different ideas that are happening and how guys are
yeah.
approaching things. It's
I
totally
got
different.
I, I got four blowups on a frog while I was there. I was trying to force feed him a frog, and I got four blowups. It was a little too early, but that's buzz bait, frog, swim bait. That's the fun zone, and
Yeah.
it's if it stays warmer like it was when I left, it's going to be off the hook up there on all sorts of baits. It's
Yeah.
just phenomenal fishery. It's the West Coast gem,
Yeah.
number one in the nation. I'd call it because they're not nothing against it, but they're natural largemouth bass.
Yeah. Like and that's something we've been talking about too. Like you've seen Gunnersville been going off, things like that. Cayuga kind of got some hype up here in New York a couple of years ago. I don't think it's there anymore, like as it was. But I think that's one thing we're talking about. I think it's a toss up right now between Gville and Clear Lake, but I feel like this tournament kind of showed Clear Lake is. I feel like it's the 1A right now because I mean Gunnersville's still showing out, but it's not showing out in 38-pound bags.
No,
But
38,
it's
39, 31, 35, 30, just unbelievable. Great to be a part of. Great to have that as part of our stable of events that we have run over the past many years that Wambas has been running tournaments. It ranks right up there with kind of one of the number one events that we've done in a long time
Yeah.
because of how everybody's accepted and we're seeing the reaction of what happened there. You got Bass Blaster posted it today. You got Best on Tour. You got people that are picking up on it, going, "Holy moly!" you know. And
Yeah.
I mean that 1 minute final video of the climax of Nathan and John on stage that we put out on social media had over 50,000 views in a day and a half,
That's awesome.
just
Yeah.
resonating with everybody out there. And
Yeah.
and the social media posts, people, Ish Monroe uh, posting about it, talking about it, and it just highlights the fishery, and just it was an awesome event. Nothing I can say negative about that event. 100% smooth, um, well ran, and the anglers did an awesome job. And our sponsors, it's been Shasta, Clear Lake, 2 home runs so far.
That's awesome, man. Well,
Yeah. Next is Havasu.
absolutely. Okay. What time are you going down there?
So Havasu is 7th, 8th, and 9th out of Riviera Marina, which is a great time of year at Havasu. There's going to be some great weights caught there. We qualified 5 guys, 5 pros and 5 co's at Shasta for the 2026 Bass Nation Championship. We qualified another 5 pros and 5 co's at Clear Lake to go to the 26th Bass Nation Championship. We've got Havasu coming up. Then we're on kind of a break as far as Wombass is concerned until September with our Lake Mead Open, and then the U.S. Open in early October. And really looking forward to that. But I think the one I'm most excited about is the 25 pros and 25 co's who qualified last year to go to lacrosse for the Bass Nation Championship this year for a chance to go to the Classic.
Heck
I'm
yeah.
going to go out on a limb and say one of our guys is going to be in that top 3.
Do you want to throw out a name who you might be, if you were to put money on it, of who that
From
might be for
last
you?
year's qualifiers, I'd have to look at it deeply if I wanted to pick one in general, but um, there's just so many good sticks out here,
Mhm.
and lacrosse kind of sets up like our river systems out here, whether it's the Delta or it's Havasu or Mojave, the river system lakes. So our guys can adapt to that. They're just going to have to watch out for those low water areas and deal with some locks, I think.
Well, I think that's one thing the West Coast has really shown from the anglers that have come from the West to the East, like with Justin Lucas, Ayler, guys like that, have shown that they're very versatile. Like they can adjust fast as well. Because I think
Yeah.
that was one thing that's cool in seeing, like, you hear about it on the West Coast, but actually being able to see it and see it in person, you have a wide variety of fisheries. In
Yes,
this,
we
and so
we
it's
it's unique. You've got your Clear Lakes, your Shasta, your mountain region style lakes, your NorCal lakes, Don Pedro, uh, New Malone is all those. I mean, the North guys are very fortunate. You live in Sacramento, an hour and a half in any direction, you're going to hit a lake.
mhm,
Down here in Southern California, we're not so lucky, or we've got smaller reservoirs, smaller lakes. Um, but you go out to Havasu, you've got Lake Havasu, you've got Lake Martinez downstream from that, you've got Lake Mojave above that, Lake Mead. Then you've got Great Lakes out in Arizona, Lake Roosevelt, and other places like that. There's diversity all over the place, and look at Bryant Smith. You know,
yeah,
uh, doing really well in Bassmaster. Chris Zaldane, you got Ayler, you mentioned,
mhm,
Matty Wong, all these guys
yeah.
that West Coast guys that are doing well on the big stages out there as well.
Yeah, it'll be cool. And I like that you see, especially like the U.S. Open, you see some kind of blend of it too. You got guys from the East that want to go out and fish that.
Yeah,
You got guys that are from out west that maybe moved east that come home to fish it. Like you have the Bryants, you have like Spencer Shuffields of the world that come out and try
yeah.
to fish that. So it's
Mhm.
cool to see the blend of that. I think that's why it
Josh
gets also gets a lot of
Bertram's and
eyes.
Clifford Birch's, yeah, the
Yeah.
local West guys. Um, you wait. I'm excited to see who signs up for Clear Lake next year because I think we're going to see some big names try to make a trip out here.
Shoot, I mean, I've already told Deacon I'll be tempted to sign up as a AAA and fly over next year to try to fish.
I got my dates already. I'm just waiting for the other organizations to make some moves as well before we release those dates. But it'll be in April again, guaranteed.
Is that the best time to fish Clear Lake in your opinion? Then is April?
In my opinion, it's the best time for an event because it's not bed fishing, it's not one style, it's still kind of dependent on weather and what's going on, but the water temperature is cooler. We had a total of, based on my report, I only saw four, but apparently there were seven fish that were brought in deceased. Only seven fish out of 3 days passed because the temperatures were right, the oxygen level in the lake was good, and the maintenance of the fish by the anglers and by our staff is, our utmost. Other than the safety of the anglers, the fish are what we're trying to take care of. And we started the Clear Lake tournament in June, which was a phenomenal time as well. Big weights, big fish, but the water was super hot. The guys had a hard time keeping and maintaining their fish in that hot water, low oxygen level uh, situations, and especially with the algae blooms they have in
Yeah,
that time of year. April is one, the perfect time for fishing it, two, perfect time to run an event up there
love that.
because
Well,
weather's typically good. It might be a little
yeah,
cold. I mean, we've seen it all clearly in April. We've seen rain, we've seen sleet, we've seen beautiful days, hot days. I mean, it was in the 70s, upper 60s and 70s for the tournament. A little overcast here and there. And
beautiful.
then literally the day after the tournament, it was 80 something degrees hot. I've got suntan lines on my feet and hands and obviously my face because
Yeah.
it got warm. And the fish moved under the docks at that time because they really hadn't moved under the docks during the tournament like they did when that sun really came out.
That's cool, and I love that you give a nod to that in regards to could we have it any time of year? Yes, but this is the best time not only just for the fishing but also for the fish. And I feel like there's some trails that need to take note of that where it's like, can you have a tournament? Yes. Should you have a tournament there that time of year though? Probably not the best for one fishing, but also for the fish. And so
Correct.
I love
And
that.
for the locals because they watch. They watch what happens. They're very proud of their fishery. They're very protective of their fish. And if they see somebody out there running something when they shouldn't or not taking care of them, they're going to talk about it and it's going to spread. And
Mhm.
we as organizations, as a sport, need a lot less of that and a lot more positive stuff going on.
Yep.
It's I'm over the drama. I'm over all the stuff going on. It was
Yeah.
part of my speech that I had with all the anglers prior to the tournament. There are processes in place to make protests and or turn in information and or deal with situations that they come across on the water. And doing it online after an event is over is not the place to do it. And we will not tolerate it.
Yep.
And we will invoke the sportsmanship rule on somebody if we have to by taking angler of the year points away because it's not good for the sport.
Hmm.
It's not good for our sponsors. And let's move forward. Let's have positive, great events and good experiences and
Yeah.
lifelong memories.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. It literally, like you mentioned that method after the fact on social media does nothing good for anybody. It does
Nobody.
zero good, zero good. Love that no, and I think talking about that positive uh, notion there is that's a great segue to the last question I have, and we'll wrap things up here. Was there any story that sticks out in your mind from this event? And I give credit to this question of thinking in line with Carl Jacobson's "Fear My Heart" incentive that he has for the Bassmaster Elite Series. Did you hear of any cool stories of whether sportsmanship or maybe it could even be something funny that happened outside of just angler wise in the tournament itself beyond just like the big weights and things like that? Did anything happen that sticks out to you?
Someday I may write a book on all the quirky things that happen at tournaments because there's a lot of situations where you get a call or something and you listen to the person and you're like, what? Okay. I remember this one, but I think the one that stuck out the most was really that final moment with John and Nathan on stage. Nathan being the young kid that idolized John, that was able to fish with John as his boater during high school stuff that Nathan did and Simpson College, and you know, John Nathan said it. Hey, I owe a lot of what I know at Clear Lake to John, and to be on stage, I don't care if I win or lose, here with him. And the biggest takeaway from this whole thing, and I've laughed over and over every time I see it, is John's son. When John's son was on stage, and we were putting that final bag in the bucket, and I had said, okay, this is what he needs to win. John's son was the first one to give it away. He saw that number on the scale, and he raised his arms before anybody made a move. And to watch that, to see the excitement in John and Nathan and John's family and his wife being there, it's for me, it's very special. People are like, "So what do you do for work?" I'm like, I don't really call it work. I run fishing tournaments. It takes a lot of work, but when you love what you do, it's really not work. Yeah, there's some headaches. Yeah, there's some issues. There's times where, do I really need to deal with this? Is this part of the job? Um, but it's all about relationships. We have some of the best anglers in the West fishing wombass. We have the largest payouts of any organization out west. We have great partnerships, and we organizations provide a platform for anglers to chase their dreams. And if they can just focus on the opportunity at hand and grasp that and take the fluff and gray matter out of the whole thing and out of the picture and the drama and the need to be cool or to have an audience or feel relative, just go out, have a good time, fish, and enjoy the success and
Yeah.
the ups and downs. There's a little bit of both at every event.
Yeah. Without a doubt. And that's what makes fishing fun, especially on the competitive side, is you got to have the lows to enjoy the highs, and that's very
Correct.
cliche, but it's the truth.
Without pain, there's no growth
That's right. Love
in
that.
any situation.
Right.
So
Love it. Well, Billy,
yeah,
thank you so
it
much
was
for your
awesome.
time.
No
Uh,
problem. It's great to be on with you guys, and we look forward to seeing everybody at Lake Havasu, Lake Mead, and the U.S. Open, and stay in touch with you guys. Love to follow up. I mean, last year's Mead
yeah.
tournament was insane as well. The
Yep.
weights that we got at Lake Mead last year. So we're expecting the same thing this year, and have a lot to look forward to. And uh, Angler of the Year points just should have been put up last night or today. So a lot of those guys that are in the top 10 are going to be going, oh, geez, looks like I need to go to Havasu now. So we're looking
Heck
forward
yeah.
to it.
Yeah, awesome. I look forward to this. I hopefully we can do this after each event. I'm hoping at the rest of the season, Deacon can be joining us here too. Obviously, work got in the way for him this week, because I know he would have loved to sit in on this conversation. But looking forward to covering the rest of your guys' year and keeping up with the standings, and getting you guys on here to do some more recaps of the Derbs, and dig out some of these fun stories too from behind the scenes, because I think the East Coast would love to hear it anyway.
For sure, for sure. And real quick shout out to John Pearl and Nathan Phillips for breaking 100 pounds in a 3-day event, and for Kevin Gross, Mr. No Hitter from the Dodgers, winning it on the co-angler side. It was pretty cool.
That's pretty
So if you
wicked.
don't know that about Kevin Gross, he was a Dodgers pitcher and he pitched a no hitter with the Dodgers, and so I call him No Hitter whenever he comes across stage. So if
That's
you didn't
cool.
catch that, now you know.
That's awesome. That's a really cool story. That's
Yeah.
pretty sick. Well, Billy, again, thank you so much for the time, man, and we'll be talking to you real soon.
Cheers, guys.
Some awesome stuff with Billy. Hopefully, you guys appreciate that perspective. Going to try to have on Billy after each event if we can, to kind of give the tournament director's POV on things, some behind the scenes stories. I think that's one thing I would love to challenge him with is, hey, bring us some pretty cool positive stories coming out of behind the scenes, not just big bags getting dropped, but like anglers helping out anglers, things along the lines of that. And we'll do that with the BAM tour as well. Bring some of those to light. So that's going to be pretty cool. But without further ado, let's bring on our second and final guest of this episode, second place angler from the One Bassett Clear Lake, Mr. Nathan Phillips. All right, folks, we're here with second place from the Clear Lake event, Mr. Nathan Phillips. And while we say it might have been second, still one of two guys for over 100 freaking pounds over 3 days. Have you had a second to even breathe since the event and kind of think about what actually went down there, dude?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot. I mean, kind of like I said on stage too. I did my part. Uh, pretty much that was my goal. Going into day three was if I could break 100 pounds, if I win or lose, I did something pretty special and kind of historic, and I did that, and I did everything I could do. It was John's time to win, and I won a couple years ago, and when I experienced it in that tournament, when it's your time to win, it's your time to win. Like everything just kind of goes right and it goes your way, and um, yeah. So I left it all out there, and second place is always going to sting, but when it's to another guy you've known for a long time, and he's a great guy, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah, it was one of the cool things, that Billy mentioned on this show as well. Was one of the stories from behind the scenes. Because I asked him, like, everybody saw, the stuff on stage and stuff like that, but he said, the stuff that resonated with him was you mentioning if I was going to lose, I'm happy to lose to a guy that I've learned, a lot of what I know from,
Yeah,
a guy that I idolize. So that'd be kind of a cool bittersweet moment anyway, being up on stage with John.
yeah, yeah. I mean, when I was in high school, obviously anything other than Clear Lake, because he wasn't allowed to be my boater, but anywhere other than Clear Lake, he was fishing Wild West and stuff on a bunch of different lakes. So he'd be like, "Oh yeah, no problem, dude. Let's go out to Maloney's, or let's go up to Shasta, or let's go to Folsom." So going well out of his way to be my boater, and taught me a lot about fishing, taught me a lot about a lot of it too, not just fishing. I mean, a lot of it's his mindset of each day he's out there tournament fishing. I think a lot of the mindset kind of stuff for me really sank in, which I still use all the time. I mean, I'm not definitely from him. I learned can't be afraid to go fish behind people, um, because you got to just
Yeah.
think you're better than them, just because, or they missed the bite window by a minute, that, and that's something too. I mean, especially Clear Lake's so popular, you're always going to fish behind people, um, and so I don't care. I mean, I've done it plenty of times where I've seen a guy sit on a spot for 2 hours, pulled it behind him, and caught 30 pounds, or a big one. It just happens like that. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it's just a small difference in lure or retrieve it, and it could just be a matter of minutes. Those fish weren't set up right, or a bait ball pulled in. um yeah, so I've never, that's something that anywhere I've ever been, I've never been afraid to be around other people or fish behind people, and I think that's really helped me because I've caught a lot of fish doing that.
Yeah, and I think well, a great takeaway from that you just mentioned is your mentors in fishing. You can take a lot from somebody. They can teach you how to throw a Nico a certain way. They can teach you how to, they can show you some sneaky baits, and that's great and all, but it doesn't mean anything if the space between the ears isn't right when it comes to the competitive aspect. So teaching somebody how to competitive, environment or not, be able to be better mentally than anybody else. Like I put it in for example, like Brandon Polnick is one of the best professional, competitive anglers. I think I'd put him in the top 5 all time, and I say that because I think talent wise, I don't know if I'd put him in the top 5 guys that are natural ability, but strategy in between the ears, he's one of the best in the game because of that, because of how he approaches it. And so like that alone, I feel like, especially from a mentorship, being able to be taught like how to approach tournament day, that is extremely valuable.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's where I definitely see it too. I mean, there's a lot of guys that fish these tournaments that are, I know they're good sticks. I know they can catch them. But it's just you get into a tournament, and then everything, you start losing it all. You're limited on time. You're limited on this. There's more people. There's people that found your stuff and they're trying to sit on it all day, and then it happens. I mean, last year it happened to me. Last year I got spun out, and I let in between the years, kind of take over my tournament. And this year that was my main goal, was just not can't let that happen, and stick to the game plan, and whatever happens. If I have to, adjust on the fly, I will. But I knew what I was fishing, what I was doing was gonna be tough. There's not, not like I'm gonna sit. Not like when I won, I was just sitting in one spot on a school, and so I didn't have to run around and hope, that some of these fish were sliding up or staging. It was just sit in one spot and let them rest, let them get back together, let them get all schooled back up. No, this was a lot different. So I going into it, I had to make sure I had a good mentality.
Yeah. Well, and with that too, I'm curious. With John teaching you a bunch of stuff, and you're talking about fishing behind a bunch of people on Clear Lake, things like that. Did you run into John much? First and second place, did they run into each other much on the lake, or did you guys not see each other at all?
No, I think I saw John running one time. Um, Beforehand, I kind of knew one area that I thought he was going to be fishing, and we had talked a little bit just about. I think like after the first day, I think we had talked a little bit because I wanted to respect, kind of what he was fishing, and he was
Yeah.
also asking me like, "Hey, I just want to make sure, were you fishing this? Because I don't want to go over there if you were." Um, so we kind of knew a little bit, but yeah, I honestly I never fished next to him. I never really saw him. Um, he was actually fishing an area that I didn't spend a bunch of time pre-fishing. I just had, um, and I knew too. I knew that there would be fish in those areas. I just, um, I saw a lot of boats, and that was kind of my way. The way I pre-fished too was, I love being up here on the north end, up near Lakeport, Kelseyville, Nice, all that, the bowl up here.
Yeah.
Um, but I first day of like my real pre-fish, I was like Saturday before the tournament. I went around the first Tule point, and there's 8 boats in a bay, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I don't have a problem fishing around people, but at a certain point, it's like, dude, there's too much pinging going on. There's too many baits hitting the wall. I think, I just, and at a certain point, then I think it becomes too much, and so I pretty much for the rest of my pre-fish just dedicated, getting going down south and going mid lake, and I knew there wasn't as many fish to be caught down there, but I knew if I could, kind of figure it out, I could find areas that had good ones.
Yeah.
And I had way less boats to deal with, way less boats, way less traffic. Um, and so luckily it worked out. And I think that's kind of, when me and John were talking a little bit, that's kind of what he was doing. He felt like every time he came up here, he was kind of wasting time, just because there's, when these fish are seeing, when there's 30 boats hitting a spot, and you're hitting it
Yeah.
at the end of the day or whatever, you're like, dude, this is kind of stupid. But
Get
I mean, there
smart
was
quick.
guys, yeah, there was guys that caught him. I mean, in those crowds. I mean, the guy, I'm pretty sure the 38 pounds was caught around other boats.
Wow.
Uh, the 12-pounder and everything. I think I heard that there was actually a boat behind him when he caught the big one. But yeah, so you can definitely do it. I think just for my headspace, especially after last year, I wanted to try to separate myself from everybody else, and I definitely think it helped, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely helps mentally, not seeing other people, one, fishing stuff potentially you want to fish, but also them seeing them catch fish on stuff that you might have been fishing later. Like that definitely kind of trickles into the mindset a little bit. So kind of having, like you're saying, getting away from the field can definitely be a benefit simply just from a mentality where it might not happen. Like you might have never caught that fish, but you seeing that or seeing that pressure happening, kind of like it kind of gets the demons talking in your brain a little bit about what it might change next step. You're like, that might be step two. and then I'll go to step 3. But seeing them there, I'm gonna skip step 3 and go 2 to 4, and then it might just throw you completely for a loop. But that's awesome. And so talk to me a little bit about like from day 1 to day 3. What through the tournament days? I'm not asking you to go full into it, but like talk a little about the highs, the lows, and then maybe any big adjustments you might have made.
Yeah, so like I said, I pre-fished once I found my pattern. I pre-fished pretty much the entirety of the lake, trying to do the same thing. So yeah, pretty much maybe like 2 weeks before the tournament, I kind of found this pattern. And I mean, I was just primarily fishing docks. But it was when we had a little bit of a warming trend previously. And a lot of these fish were getting suspended either off the docks or under the docks in the shade. And so, and I found a good depth range, 8 to 15 feet is mainly where I caught a lot of these fish. So I ran just literally almost every single dock from mid lake to all the way up the Rattlesnake Arm to all the way up the Redbud Arm. And, found some areas, found some certain docks and some certain stretches that had fish. And, um, just kind of figured I'll just run as much of it as I can, and if I can get one out of the 15 under one dock to bite every so often, then I'll probably be all right. But yeah, day one went perfect. I mean, I stopped on a spot that I had some fish going previously. I hadn't even pre-fished it, and I caught a 7. Um, couldn't really get any more fish to go. And then right after that, I knew day one we were gonna have a bluebird sky and not a lot of wind. And so I knew those fish that were going to be suspended under the docks were going to be, doing what I wanted them to do. So I ran that pattern. And the only reason that I like stuck it out, because I was in the Rattlesnake Arm the whole day, the first day. But the only reason I stuck it out in there all day the first day was because I had no bait. Um,
Mm,
I didn't have any bait in there, so the only way I was catching those fish was if they got, if they were sunning or if they were under the docks in the shade. Like I really, that was the only way I could get those fish to, not just be roaming around or, on the bottom. The only way I could get them up and actually catch those suspenders um, was really because of that sun. So I wanted to spend my day there and really just catch as much as I could and see what happened.
yeah.
And it worked out good. Um, I only had I caught maybe 15, 20 fish that day, had 7 good ones, five plus, and yeah, so it worked out good. Day two is what kind of what I was. I didn't know what they were gonna do because we had cloud cover, we had a little bit of wind, not crazy wind, but just a little bit. And I started in an area I hadn't fished that had bait,
Yeah.
just because I saved it. I didn't want to hit it. I had a short day the first day, and so going into the second day, I knew I had a really long day. So if I threw in some extra stuff that I hadn't fished the first day, I knew it wouldn't really hurt me. I could still kind of do my same rotation and add that on there. So I started there, mid lake. I caught a 6 pounder. I thought it was gonna be good. I broke one off, and then I was there for about an hour and a half, and it just they weren't firing. I mean, I could get them to follow, but they wouldn't eat. Um, and then yeah, so I ran it back down to Rattlesnake and fished all that stuff that I had been fishing, and um, caught some fish, but nothing good. I mean, I had that one big one and maybe like another, uh, and then some 4 pounders. I mean that's good in a lot of places, but
Right.
I'm trying to. I mean, I going in the tournament, I was going for 30 plus each day. If I hit 30 plus each day, I was happy, which I pretty much did. So I mean, I was still obviously super happy to get it. I mean, I made 100, so obviously beat my goal. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I had a dock. Had a dock that had a bunch of big ones on it. I caught one on off of it the first day. And then with the cloud cover, they actually slid off. There's a couple pilings that are farther off the dock that don't have any structure, and they were kind of sitting on those. Um, I couldn't get them to bite, so I kept going past them. Came back like in 30 minutes, and I caught a 9.5. And couldn't get any of the other ones to go. That's kind of how it was. Like, I mean, there'd be docks with 30 fish under there, and I could catch one because once I caught one, I pulled the school out, and they just, I don't know. This is kind of how it is with those sunning fish. I can normally catch like one or two if I'm lucky, and then you just got to keep going. It sucks when you're seeing 30 fish under a dock and they're
Yeah.
following your minnow and stuff, but they just won't eat. So yeah, and I already knew that going into it, so I just kind of, once I caught one or two, I'd throw back under there a couple more times, but I didn't spend much time. I was covering a lot of water because I was fishing so many docks. I just had to keep going, and um, but yeah, that second day was definitely a struggle. I had at the end of the day, I caught one more good one. I had like a just under six, a six. That 9.5 saved me, and then two 4.5 pounders. I could not get a good one. I kept catching
Huh.
little rats. I couldn't get my 6 pounders to go. Um, and then yeah, the last day I started in that same spot I started in the second day, with all the bait, and they just bit. They bit good. I had 29 pounds at 8 o'clock and was
Dang.
stoked. Um, the bite kind of died for a little bit, so then I ran back to my stuff that I had been fishing in the rattlesnake arm. They were done. It was blowing down there. It was so weird. So in the bowl up north, um, it was not. I mean, a little breeze, but not bad at all. And once you got through the narrows, before you get to the two arms, once you got through the narrows, both arms were ripping, and it was, I've never really seen it like that. I mean 3 footers in the rattlesnake arm and the redbud arm, and then glass up north. Um,
Hmm.
so I ran down there, and I was like, I can't even do this in this chop. I don't. I'm not. I mean, I just haven't done that, and I'm like, I'm not. My bait. I don't have any bait. There's nothing to hold these fish. This wind starts. It might start pushing these fish around. I did went and hit where I caught that 9.5. I went back there. There was like 6 big ones. I couldn't get them to bite.
Hmm.
Um, and then I just ran back up to where I started, and they didn't bite. Um, they didn't bite when I went back there, so I actually left. Ran a stretch of docks that I hadn't hit yet. I fished in practice and caught some good ones. They were actually gone. I mean, I didn't see any fish on the docks, but I saw one running on the bottom, and I thought it was a catfish, but I threw at it, and it just swam right up to it and ate it. I didn't even do nothing. It just swam right up. I threw it out there at it, and it just swam right up there and ate it. And it was like a 7 pounder. So I mean, it was pretty lucky to just find one swimming on the bottom and it eating it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I caught that fish. Fished a couple of different areas where where I had fish and they were gone, and I ran back to my bait, and they chewed for like 2 hours until like 3:30, 4 o'clock. They were chewing. I mean, I called like 6 times. I just kept catching. I had a couple 5 pounders in my bag, and then I'd catch a six, and then I'd catch a 6.3, and then I caught. I think at the end of it, my small one the last day was like a 6.8, and then
Gosh, dang, dude.
I had a big one. I caught a big one in the morning. I had an 8 pounder in the morning, but like my small one was like a 6.8, and then I had one like right at 8 pounds. But it was spawned. My 8 pounder was the only spawned out fish I weighed in the whole tournament. I mean, it was probably 25 and a half inches long, but it was
Oh
freaking.
my
It was
god.
so skinny. I know.
So
When I
like
when
it
I
was a
got it
10.
when I had it in the tanks at the weigh-in, John's like, "You sure you only have 35, dude? That's a giant." And I'm like, "Dude, it's freaking 8 pounds. I weighed it." He's like, "Dude, that thing should be like 10 or 11." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, that's the only post spawn fish I had caught up until that point," which is crazy because you know since I've been back out, this last week, every fish I'm catching is, I mean, 90% of the fish I'm catching now are post.
Wow. Just
So
that
I mean,
quick. It's crazy.
I think we hit it perfect. I mean, there's definitely still pre-spawners, and I'm still catching them, but just not nearly as many. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
catching a lot that I'm like, I mean, even they still look fat. I mean, they're eating shad, so they're still kind of fat, and they still look fat. But then you press on their belly, and they're empty.
Yeah.
Those fish I'm trying.
Beach balls. Oh. Uh-oh. Might have lost you. Shoot. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't know how you froze and then it just like I think it just shut you like it kicked you
Yeah.
out for a second. But I'm
I
trying to
think I
remember
was
where we
just
were
saying.
at. You were saying,
I
oh
think I was
yeah,
just saying like we just timed it perfectly with the with those
yeah,
weights because I mean the crazy thing is like I've gone out this week and still caught 35, 36 pounds, but post spawners. I mean
gosh,
it's
dude.
they're freaking they're
do, you,
crazy.
do you think then that one, say that 1 8 pounder, if that was a pre spawner, you think that was a win right there? If it was pre spawn versus post?
I mean yeah, I think if it was I think if it was a pre spawner, I mean it could have been, but it might. I mean it might have not been. I mean it was a pound and a half. It just depends,
Right.
you know. That I mean that fish didn't look. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to tell. It didn't look like it was like it probably even if it was pre, it didn't look like it was like super fat even before it spawned. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean I and to be honest, I mean I talked to John too. I don't. I mean neither of us fished clean. I think the last day I think he said he lost a big one, and I did too. Uh, there was one suspended on a. There was actually three suspended on a buoy, and I threw up there, and it ate it like super high in the water. I hooked it and it started fighting and it swirled on top of the water and came off. And I never, I mean, and it was a
Oof.
huge swirl. I don't know how big it was. I never saw it. I think it was a really big one, but it's weird because I never lose them on a minnow. Um,
Yeah.
and but yeah, that one just
That's
pulled that
crazy.
one pulled off.
What do you,
So
yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, the whole, I mean, every angler that goes up there for the most part could have a lost fish story. I was curious of what your, how much you think they fluctuate, from the pre-spawn to post-spawn, because it lost fish is a lot of
oh
shoulda,
yeah,
coulda, woulda, right?
exactly.
Of oh, I would have wanted this.
Yeah,
You always hear that at the ramp. Oh, I would have had the dub
yeah.
if I done
I mean,
this.
yeah. I'm not. I don't really know. I mean, I'm sure there's
Yeah,
people that have like actual like numbers for, a pre and post spawn fish depending on like size and how many eggs they
right.
have. I don't know how much the eggs weigh, but I mean, there's fish like now that I'm catching them like, dude, promise you that was like in the tournament that would have been a 7. And I'm weighing it now and I'm like it's like a 6, 2, maybe right under 6. Like there's some times where I'm like, dude, I can't believe that fish isn't that big. I had a guide trip on Tuesday, and a kid I took out this kid and his dad, and the kid caught a 9.8, 9.8, and I promise you that fish's frame and length, everything about it was bigger than the 310s I've caught this year. I thought for sure it was like almost 11. Like it was so big. Its mouth was huge. Everything about it was huge. But I mean, I pressed her gut and she was just empty, like air, just nothing. And I mean,
Uh,
it was definitely over 25 inches for sure. But like, it just didn't look like when I caught my fish, my 8 was like super skinny looking, like just looked like it just wasn't that, didn't look like it was super fat
healthy.
before. Looked like it was, looked
Yeah, it's like
kind of
kind of
sickly.
sickly.
Yeah. I mean, just looked pretty skinny, had a huge head on it. But like the one he caught, I feel like it probably just spawned. Like it was huge. It looked perfect. It didn't really look like, it didn't even look like it had spawned. But um, I
Yeah.
definitely think it had to be post.
Well, it's one of those fish, dude, that makes you almost question your scale. You're
Oh,
like, are you sure this is right?
a
Should we
hundred
reset the
percent.
scale?
I reweighed it. I weighed it like 3 times because I was like, what? But I mean, he had caught a couple fish earlier in the day. Um, that I mean, they weighed like I thought they would. I mean, there were 2 7s. Like I thought that's what I thought they
Mhm.
were, and they weighed what. And then yeah, like I said, I waited a few times because I was like, dude, there ain't no way that thing is huge. And but yeah, no, but
It's crazy.
yeah, so I don't know. I like I said, I don't know what the math really is, but I definitely feel like I mean, if that fish's frame, if it had been pre-spawn and fat for sure. Um, but like I said, that's the
Close to
small
10.
little things that when it's your time, it's your time. Like I mean, if it was my time, that
Yeah.
fish for sure could have been, pre-spawn super fat, and it could have been well over. I mean, it could have been over 10 pounds. So,
Yeah.
but
Awesome.
yeah, just I mean, like I said, I did everything I could. I didn't fish super clean, unfortunately, but like I said, neither did John. John lost fish on a glide bait. He lost fish on his minnow. I mean, there's they honestly, they just weren't eating it that good. I mean, to be honest, I mean it was the bite
That's
was
crazy.
super tough, and a lot of them I was hooking. It's weird because a lot of them I catch were choking it, but you'd catch one every once in a while that barely had it on the in their on their lip. I mean, I barely hooked them.
Huh.
Like, I mean, they'd follow it. They'd
That's
follow the
crazy.
minnow for 50 feet, and then finally
Yeah,
just barely grab
that's
it. Yeah, no,
wild.
I mean it was weird. Like, and like I said, I mean, I don't ever really lose fish on a minnow, and I lost a couple, but I had a few that actually just I think I lost maybe three that I broke off. One being me
Mm.
being lazy and in a rush. I actually broke a rod and just grabbed a random rod out of a rod locker and tied on a minnow to it and threw it out there, which is stupid. I had 7 rods that were all brand new leaders ready to go. All I had to do was take one of those ones off. But that was just being lazy. And then I had a couple where I was over wires and stuff because I was just making casts that I felt like nobody else would be doing. Trying to skip under docks that have like this much clearance, less than that, barely get my bait under there, and casting over a bunch of crap. I mean, I caught a 5 pounder the first day, and I skipped it over. Um, like for the boat, for the when the lifts for the boat, how they have all the beams and stuff on them. I skipped it over all the beams,
Yeah,
hooked a fish over the beams, pulled it over all the beams. I mean, and that's 30 feet under the dock. Because that's the only way you could skip under it. The only way you could skip the way I skipped was under the whole dock and then over the beams. But I mean, unfortunately, that's just where all the fish were. So I was just like, whatever. If I just hook it and figure it out later. But that's kind of what I've always done. I've always just tried to make the cast that nobody else's. And I mean, flipping over docks, skipping way under docks that nobody else would. I mean,
yeah,
when you're going over
yeah.
docks, I mean, you got to be throwing bigger line and big rods and stuff. But because I mean, I've hooked 5 pounders and reeled them up over the dock like on a flipping setup. But um,
I was just gonna say I got a buddy that throws 20-pound braid and a 15-pound gamma leader for a wacky rig to get him
oh
over
yeah.
docks. Purposely, the setup is only for
Yep, a
flipping over
hundred, a
docks.
hundred percent. I mean, it's just, I mean, I mean, I do it a lot too when they're spawning. The fish that you can't see if you can flip it
Mhm.
over the dock, but yeah, I think it's just something to, like you said, it's the same way with how I pre-fish and fish the tournament, separating myself from everybody else. It's just the same way you can do something small
Yeah,
to be a little different than everybody else because most people are afraid to go over a dock, which most of
yeah,
the time you get them out from under there, over it. You can get them over it. When they're really big though, it gets
yep.
gnarly. I mean, I was fishing a tournament one time and hooked like a 7 pounder over a dock, and I couldn't get it up. I was getting stuck on the bottom of the dock. I couldn't get his head to come up over because his mouth was so big. Um, and my buddy was laid across, had his feet in my boat, laying across the whole dock with the net, and I was just pulling it up, and he netted it, and then he got back. He handed me the net and then crawled back in the boat because your feet just can't be. Oh yeah,
Finesse.
it was. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
this is horrible. What are we doing? But yeah, no, I mean, it
that's
was.
awesome.
There's been a lot of. The crazy thing is I just can't believe. Um, I can't believe how good a lot of people caught him and how many people struggled. But that's really shows you like how small this lake fish is, and I feel like that's the way it was when I won too. I mean, when I won, I sat in one spot and I had 3 lines that I was casting on. But if you weren't, you could be there's boats. When I won, I could see 30 boats every single day because I was in a bay. So there would be 5 boats on one point, 5 boats on the other point, and then boats all throughout the bay. And I mean, most of those guys weren't even catching limits, or if they were, they were, I mean, 17, 18
Wow.
pounds. I mean, then because we were in June, so it was summer. Um, but yeah, I mean, I mean, people watch me catch fish all day long, and I've never even barely saw anybody catch fish. But it was so. I mean, like I said, it was super specific. There was 3 lines that I had. I mean, um, 3 different patches of grass, and that was it. And that's all I was doing was hitting my glide bait against that grass. But there's grass there, and it's
That's
crazy because there's
crazy.
grass on the whole thing. There's a grass. The whole thing has a grass line on it. But I was hitting 3 specific patches of grass when I won. But
That's
yeah,
pretty
it
sick.
was that when I won it was awesome. I mean, I kind of blew up that bite, that summer glide bait bite that we have here. But yeah, I was I mean, you're working it as literally I was working as fast as I could. Not a burn pause or chop. I mean, it was just twitching it like I literally like this all day long, just bah, 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 bah.
Like you're speed
Yeah,
walking a spook
exactly.
almost.
Just same thing. Just walking it, just going as fast as I can, just getting that bait to go over the grass, and then you'd hit the main thing was just go as fast as you could, hit the grass, and then that would be the 1 second that your bait stops, and then they have something to pin it against.
Huh.
But yeah, that
That's
year
nuts.
when I won though, that year I saw more 5 to 6 inch hitch than I've ever seen in my life. And then this year, and I think that's why the bite is very specific this year. I've never seen this much threadfin ever before.
So that's what you think the minnow might be doing better than
Yeah, I
because of the
think
threadfin.
the shad this year is insane. And then even in areas where like normally like they're hitch orientated fish, um, there's just shad everywhere. Um, that's really I think what is making the bite the way it is this year. There's definitely but I mean even
Yeah.
in practice I was up north throwing a glide bait and stuff catching fish. Like it's not that bite's not like it's not there at all. I mean, I'm actually at the tackle shop right now, but I mean there's guys that are coming in saying they're still I mean they're catching them on trash fish. Like it's definitely not like an entirely shad bite, but I definitely do think it is playing
Yeah.
into there's certain areas of the lake right now that have a ton of shad, and that's where a majority of these fish are. Um, like I said, where I caught those fish the last day, and I caught some there the first day. I mean, there's so much shad there; it's crazy. I mean,
Huh.
not even like bait balls that are like the size of a truck or whatever. I mean, it's bait balls that are this in between, like the entirety between 2 docks is all bait. And it's not
That's
and it's
nuts.
like this dock, the next dock, the next dock, the next dock. But I mean the bait ball moves around obviously, but it's just so much bait. um yeah, so I just think that shad's definitely playing a huge factor into the bite right now, which I mean I've found before, in years past, huge giant bait balls, but mainly in the winter. In the winter.
So yeah, I'm kind of curious to break this down on before we start wrapping up here is when you're talking about that dock approach and how you can only get maybe one or two if there's a group of them, sunning under a dock. With them being kind of weary like that, what's your approach, I guess, on bait selection going in first? Like, are you starting off something pretty, not very intrusive and like a wacky rig, or are you going in with a big glide and going big or going
uh
home?
for me in this tournament was just, I mean, I caught every fish on a minnow. um and it's weird because obviously I think that's kind of like the first thing most of these guys and myself probably included, you know if I wouldn't have found the bite I had, would be, oh my gosh, look at those fish sunning, let me skip a senko, or let me skip any weightless worm in there. But I mean, I've seen it time and time again, and this year I tried it, I was trying a senko, but I mean, you throw that stupid senko at them and 90% of them don't even look at it. um I think that minnow is just, it's the same idea of like it being super finesse and something not very intrusive, but it's still a reaction. It's not it's not the slow like, oh my gosh, whoa, a senko, let me eat it. It's you're still getting a reaction bite um out of those fish. And so yeah, I mean, I was throwing super light heads, trying to keep it up high. I mean, I guess you could probably just throw like a fluke. I mean, I guess that'd be pretty non-intrusive as well. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that was my whole idea was trying to just get a reaction strike out of those fish because I've always struggled catching those sunning fish. I mean, the only other way that I've really caught those fish in a similar fashion is on like a little 2.8 Kitech or a 3.3 Kitech on a little tiny ball head on a spinning rod and just skipped it past them or threw it way past them and reeled it right in front of them. I've caught some on glide baits and stuff before, but and I was doing it in practice. I mean, I was actually throwing a flag just because I can skip it, and so I was throwing a flag way up under the docks, and I was getting fish to eat that too. So yeah, I
That's
mean,
fun.
I think there's a few different ways to approach it, but like I said, I think I don't that the Senko deal definitely works. But like if I was to do it, it would be throw it under there and just let it sit there for a minute, like legit a minute, 45 seconds, and hope one swam down and is just staring at it for the 45 seconds. Like I can't, and it's weird because I
Yeah.
mean I like throwing this time of year. I love throwing a worm. I love throwing a drop shot and a shaky head. Um, Especially when they're spawning because you catch a bunch while you're
Mm.
just while you're looking for beds, you can just bomb a drop shot out there and catch a roamer all the time. But I have not been
Yeah.
able to catch a fish on a worm here for a while, and I don't know.
Huh.
I don't get it. I don't know why. And I heard a lot of guys.
They chasing more maybe then
I think
versus
yeah. I think a lot of it
I
has to
guess.
do is they'd rather chase. And like I said, I don't know if
Huh.
it has to do with the amount of bait in this lake right now. If that's just they're just focused on shad only. I don't know. I really I don't
Hmm.
know. But like I said, I mean I've seen fish throw my worm at them. I mean, with my eyes or with panoptics, whatever. Um, and I can't. Yeah, I can't. The only way I've been able to catch one is literally throw out there. Like I said, throw out there and just start looking around, and then I go to move my worm, and I'm like, oh, I got one.
Read a book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's crazy right now too. I mean,
That's funny.
I've never seen this many. I mean, we always this time of year you always see a bunch of little guys up shallow. I mean, 10 inchers up shallow. But this year, I'm like, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I mean, I think you could go throw a jerk bait anywhere on this lake right now, up against the tulies or up against the bank, and catch. You could probably, if you really tried, I think you could probably catch 200 8 to 10 inchers, and maybe a few like 2 pounders
God
and stuff.
dang.
I know there was guys fishing super shallow,
That's
and
crazy.
because it's funny. I mean, like I did it in practice too. I caught like five little guys, and my buddy finally threw in there in practice and caught a 6.5. Like they're around them. I mean, if there's big ones
Hmm.
around those little ones, but yeah,
Fishing through
and
them.
that to me, I'd rather just fish for my 10 bites and hope they're all good ones
Yeah.
than weeding through 100 little ones and ruining my
Heck
bait.
yeah.
But
Do you think Clear Lake's the best lake in the country right now?
I mean, I don't. I think it's hard to say. Um, that's oh sorry.
Size wise, I feel like it's got to be chalking them out right now. Like I, I, I think it's right now, at least from the general perspective, looking across the country. I feel like it's Gville versus Clear Lake, but Clear Lake has the clear advantage of size right now. At least it's putting out a lot of
Yeah,
big
and I
ones.
mean, I haven't looked at like tournament. I mean, I've looked at a few tournament results and stuff from G, but I think I don't know what those. I don't know. I haven't looked in like how
Yeah,
far down. Are those guys catching 25? You know, 20 pounds.
I feel like that derb you guys just had kind of puts Clear Lake at the top spot, at least for
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
I think because I
I feel
think
like it
the
has to.
whole first page, which is like 31 guys, had 25 pounds plus, and
That's
um,
crazy.
I was actually talking to Skeet Reese because he's from here, and he was
Yeah,
we were just talking on the phone for a second. He's like, dude, I don't even know if I've heard of another 3-day limit, you know, of 100 pounds, other than I think one, but I don't know. I think we've heard of like one from Texas, but I mean, just the
yeah. I think it was Keith Combs. I
yeah.
think that was it.
I mean, I think I don't know. I think the fact that two guys went out there and did it in different areas kind of shows. I mean, obviously we're both locals, so that we have an advantage there. But two guys in completely different areas. I mean, doing the same, pretty much the same exact thing, technique wise, and
Yep.
the fish we were targeting were pretty much the same fish, but two different areas. Never even saw each other. I think I saw them running one time. Um, to both catch 100 pounds is pretty crazy. And a almost 13 pounder be weighed in. Yeah, I don't know. I think right now with the cycle that we're in with this lake, I think it's up there for sure. I think if it's not first, then it's
Yeah.
second. Um, but for how, I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy for like the weights that you see how tough it is. And I think like you,
So you're saying like weights might be big, but like your day is it's trialing. Like it's taking a lot of work to get the weight that you're getting out.
yeah, yeah, I mean, like I said, that first day, I mean, I had like 7 good bites. That second day, I only had three, so I had just under 30. That last day was epic. I mean, I smashed him that last day. But I mean, I talked to John. He said he didn't smash him. He caught, he caught good ones and he caught them throughout the day. But it wasn't like, I mean, I that last day I caught so many fish, it was crazy. But certain days, yeah, you can smash them. Like you could just be so epic. Like you just catch 50 fish, you have 40 pounds, whatever. But then you can go out the next day and be like, dude, what is going on? Like I can't get any of these fish to eat. I'm changing baits, I'm changing colors, sizes, and they just won't eat. They're just shut. But yeah, I mean, I think a little bit too. Like, I mean, I mean, if you look at those results, there's a lot of guys. There's a majority of the field that didn't have 15 fish, so a limit every single day. Um, I mean, and obviously the drop
Yeah.
off is pretty severe as well. I mean, it was like 102.88, 101.33, 93, and then there's a few 90-pound bags right around there, and then it was straight down to 80, and then it was straight down to 70. Like it was definitely, uh, I think it kind of shows how tough it is. But how great it is because I mean,
Yeah.
there's guys that had 25 pounds a day that didn't even get a check. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
really
It
get
seems
around
fun.
them and catch them really really good, or you can be not around them at all and not even
And
catch a
lost.
limit. So I definitely think that
Yeah.
it's pretty high and low, but I mean I think right now if you had a Bassmaster Elite here, it would take over 120 pounds to win. I think you would have 30 pounds a
Phew.
day for sure. I think one of those guys would figure out that bite or figure out another bite, you know, that would get you over 30 pounds a day for sure.
I could tell you they're looking at your guys' Durbin. I bet you there's people behind the walls there at Bassett or MLF, whichever one. They're talking about it. I think they're seeing the depth of the fish caught, and
I
they're
mean, yeah, I
talking
mean,
about
we
it.
haven't,
I would not be surprised. I wouldn't say maybe next year. I'd say maybe 2 years. I could see them put it back on
yeah,
schedule.
I mean, we saw what Steve and Skeet did back in the day. And I definitely
Hmm.
think that's a potential. I mean, we just saw what Kyle did also. Kyle had an amazing tournament, but
Yeah.
I think if you want to try to, break that record again, I think it might have to be here. I don't know. I mean, Kyle got close, um, but I mean that this place can do it. I know. I mean, it did it before, but I know. I think right now, if they came, you know, pre-spawn, I think you for sure can do it. I mean, there's just so many fish in that 20 to 23-inch range right now that if
Yeah.
they're pre-spawn and they're they're fat, it's easy. It's an easy 30 pounds. I mean, my 29.75 pound day was probably the first day I've had under 30 pounds if I was out there fishing in probably 2 months. I haven't had.
See that right there, I think is why Clear Lake right now should be
Yeah, I
number
mean,
one in the country. That statement
and I
alone
mean,
is
and a majority
crazy.
of those are like 35 plus. Like, I
Gosh
had a
dang, dude.
43-pound day. That's my first ever 40-pound bag, though. But I mean, there were certain days out here where I heard 5 guys say, "Oh, I had 40 pounds," like on a Bubba scale, 40 over 40 pounds, 42 pounds, 41 pounds. And I know a guy out here, um, an old guy actually, an older guy. But this year he's had 2 days where he's like, "This is the best day I've ever had in my whole life. I've been here, you know, he's fished tournaments here for 40 years or whatever, and he's had 2 days like where
That's
he's like,
crazy.
dude, my smallest one I think is like 8.5, and I have 2 10s.
Oh
I have
my
210,
god.
and like, I mean, just craziness. Like, yeah, I definitely I definitely on the right days, I don't think you could ever beat this place. Like if you're here, I mean, if you're just on the right spot at the right on the right day here. But the crazy thing is like it could literally be anywhere on this lake. Like, I mean, there's days where guys were up here throwing swim baits, caught 40 pounds, and then that's kind of what was going on when I caught 43 pounds. Like everybody was fishing the stuff up here that was going off, and I'm like, dude, I can't even get on anything. Screw it, I'm gonna go down, mid lake and down south and go fish. Just go trying to find something new, and then I had 43 pounds, and I didn't even have a 10. I
That's
had I
awesome.
had 2 9s that day, 2 9s, 2 8s, and a really and like a 780 or something, 777 or whatever. But
That's awesome.
dude, I mean, that day I was literally throwing back 7 pounders. Left every fish I caught was like a 6 or 7 pounder. But
I can tell you there's people listening or watching this right now that are trying to plan a trip to Clear Lake based off of what you the last 40 minutes of you
yeah,
describing Clear Lake. So what we'll do is we'll start wrapping it up here, and I'll ask you is if people want to come book a guide trip with you, is where's a good place for them to go look?
yeah. My Instagram is n underscore Phillips underscore fishing, and then I also have a website which is just nphillipsguideservice.com.
Perfect. What we'll do is we'll have all that link down below in the description, whether it's YouTube or MP3 for you guys. So if you're listening to this right now and you want to book a guide trip, click the link, get right over to Nathan and book a trip because it sounds like it's going down. And you gotta be there. But the last thing, dude, I'm gonna ask you is what is the coolest thing in that tackle shop right now, in your opinion?
Coolest thing. Let me actually come out here. And then also,
Oh,
yeah,
perfect. Get
also
a
if you
tour.
if you're just coming on your own, make sure you stop at a Clear Lake Outdoors. But that's what I'm gonna show you.
There you go.
Probably the coolest thing we got. Um, it's,
We're getting the grand tour of Clear
I
Lake
could give you the
Outdoors,
grand
folks.
tour, but let me. Oh, can I turn
No,
my
you're good.
camera on this? Oh no, I just turned it off.
Should
I just
be.
turned it off. Whatever. The coolest thing we got here is this is a DRT Class 9, but this is our
Yes.
own custom color. So it's got Clear Lake Outdoors on it, but this is our own custom, uh, pretty much hitch pattern
Oh,
color.
dude, that's sick.
So
That's
we got,
awesome.
and we're actually getting more, but yeah, we get those in the TK and the K9. So
Heck yeah. Well, for folks that are listening, I know as we have a decent amount of California folk that listen to this show, go buy one of them Clash Nines and say either Nathan or the Serious Angler Boy sent you. That would be pretty cool to go see that color being bought. But man, is there anybody you want to give a shout to or anything like that before we wrap this sucker
um,
up?
yeah, obviously Dave from Clear Lake Outdoors, he's helped me forever. Um,
Yeah.
John Pearl, I mean, like I said, if I was gonna lose to somebody, it'd be him. Um, Gary, GCJ Baits, he makes handmade glide baits. That's also another. Actually, I want to show that one too. That's another really cool thing we got here.
Heck
It's a
yes. I'm
it's
all
a
about
handmade
this.
bait here, uh, and it's made right here at Clear Lake. But it's a flat
Ooh.
side. I can't even do this right.
Yeah.
But
No, you're good. We can see
there's a
it.
9 inch a 6-inch, and then a 12. A big. I mean, that's for people that are, you know,
Hunting,
mostly us guys
trophy
here
hunting.
will throw the big stuff like that. But yeah, that's another local guy, G-Rat Baits. Him and Gary, which is GCJ Baits. They've collabed and made that executioner. Um, but he's an awesome guy, Garrett Dixon. Trying to think. Um, the old guy I was actually talking about, his name's Tom. Uh, I've
Heck
actually,
yeah.
got to fish with him a lot more recently, and he's shown me some cool stuff. Definitely has a lot of knowledge. Um, but
That's
yeah,
awesome,
other
man.
than that, I mean, that's about it.
Heck yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking time out. Congrats on a freaking 100+ pounds in 3 days. That's absurd. And appreciate you jumping on this show, man. We're definitely have to get
Yeah,
you back
thank
on
you.
here.
I had a great time.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Mr. Nathan Phillips. Obviously, another young stud in this sport of bass fishing, especially on the competitive side, that it just seems very in tune with how these fish are operating, especially at Clear Lake. And so there's some cool stories of behind the scenes of how, him and, growing up, learning from John Pearl, who was the champion, and some of the things he's picked up on spending so much time out on Clear Lake. So if you guys are looking to go out there and fish Clear Lake, head to the link below. We'll attach his guide service as well as his social media, same with Billy's as well, where you guys can go and give them a follow. But a great episode. Appreciate these guys taking the time out. Appreciate you guys taking the time out to come listen to this and show the West Coast some love, because the West Coast has some freaking hammers, some incredible fisheries, and we're looking forward to expanding across that here on the Seriously Western segment of Serious Angler for the ongoing future. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, if you're listening on MP3, please leave us a rating or review if you haven't already. And if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Comment down below who you'd like to see more showcase from the West Coast. If you'd like, what region you're hailing from. Where are you guys coming from that you're listening to us to? And look forward to Wednesday's show, the OG show, with the Champions Roast, Mr. Easton Fothergill. But you guys are awesome. Appreciate it as always. See you guys on the next one.